June 29, 1967, a date engraved in Hollywood history for all the wrong reasons. If you've ever noticed the steel bar beneath the back of a semi-truck's cargo area, you might have wondered about its purpose. The bar is known as the Mansfield Bar. The so-called Mansfield Bar has a fascinating, albeit tragic, story behind it. It's a safety feature named after the stunning Hollywood bombshell Jayne Mansfield, whose life was abruptly cut short in a horrific car accident. Just 3 months prior, Jayne had returned from a successful 8-week cabaret tour across Europe, greeted with overwhelming acclaim and substantial earnings. She received a $56,000 fee, a chauffeured Rolls-Royce, and countless fringe benefits. Mansfield rose to movie stardom in 1956 with her show-stopping entrance in The Girl Can't Help It. At a young age, she became the toast of Hollywood and Broadway, captivating audiences with her charm and talent. Yet behind her dazzling fame laid an ominous reality. Mansfield once had a premonition of her own untimely death, a fact revealed later that would haunt her legacy. After a triumphant 8-week cabaret tour across Europe, Mansfield returned to the United States and embarked on a 12-day engagement at Gus Stevens' seafood restaurant and Buccaneer Lounge in Biloxi, Mississippi. This supper club was a hotspot of tourist activity and beachside fun, a fitting stage for a star of her caliber. On June 28th, just 5 days into her engagement, Mansfield performed 2 half-hour shows to packed audiences. Her soft, seductive voice filled the room as she captivated her fans with her unique blend of glamour and approachability. Part of her act involved mingling with the audience and sitting on men's knees, creating a sense of personal connection. Cosmin Eisendrath reported that audience members felt they had met someone not just internationally famous, but also honest and relatable. Though the show attracted commendations from the audience, no one could have predicted the tragic turn of events that was about to unfold. Little did Mansfield herself even know that would be her final performance, her last moments in the spotlight before an untimely and heartbreaking end. The next day, Mansfield was scheduled for a special appearance on WDSU-TV's midday show in New Orleans. To ensure she arrived on time, Tony Piccillo, the manager at Gus Stevens' club, had arranged to drive Jayne and her party overnight to the Roosevelt Hotel in New Orleans. However, Piccillo stayed behind in Mississippi to coordinate additional appearances for Mansfield at the Seabees base in Gulfport. In his place, Ronnie Harrison, a sleep-deprived 20-year-old club employee and fiancé to Gus Stevens' daughter, was tasked with the 100-mile drive behind the wheel of a 1966 Buick Electra provided by Stevens. After the nightclub performance in Biloxi, Mississippi, Mansfield Harrison, the actress's boyfriend, Sam Brody, and her 3 children from her second marriage to actor Mickey Hargitay, Mickey Jr., 8, Zoltan 6, and future TV star Mariska 3 took off. The passengers also included 3 of Mansfield's Chihuahuas. As the group set off on their journey, little did they know they were heading toward a tragic fate. After all, the exhaustion of their young driver and the demanding schedule created a perilous combination even before they set off. As they departed from Gus Stevens' club, Mansfield and her party began their journey along the scenic beach road west toward New Orleans. The Mississippi Sound and the vast Gulf of Mexico lay to their left, illuminated by the starry, moonlit summer night. With the car windows rolled down, the group enjoyed the refreshing salty air and the soft Gulf breeze. It was a serene and pleasant early summer morning, with the rhythmic droning of the car's tires providing a steady soundtrack to their drive. They traveled 20 miles through the coastal towns of Biloxi, Gulfport, Mississippi City, Long Beach, and Pass Christian. The beach road, bathed in moonlight, offered a picturesque view as they cruised along. Turning right, they left the beach behind and approached the short, high-rise Henderson Point Bridge, easily driving over it. The journey continued over the dark, still waters of the Long Bay St. Louis Bridge, a stretch of road that felt almost surreal in the quiet of the night. Passing through the quaint towns of Bay St. Louis and Waveland, the car continued its journey. The night seemed peaceful, the air filled with the promise of a new day. Yet unbeknownst to them, the tranquility of the night was a deceptive calm before the storm. During their journey, Mansfield made a quick stop at a gas station phone booth to call her estranged husband, Mickey Hargitay. Despite their separation, they shared a deep bond and 3 beloved children. Over the phone, Mansfield learned that Hargitay was flying to New Orleans later that day to see the children and spend time with them. As they spoke, Hargitay could hear the voice of Sam Brody, Mansfield's attorney and companion, in the background. Brody, known for his jealousy, added a tense feeling to the conversation. Notwithstanding, the call ended without a raised eyebrow. After turning onto Highway 90 from Waveland, the group stopped for a late-night pit stop at the White Kitchen, a well-known 24-hour landmark in St. Tammany Parish, Louisiana. This popular stopping point was a haven for travelers between the Gulf Coast and New Orleans, offering a brief respite and a cold Coke. Refreshed and ready to continue, they left the White Kitchen and resumed driving. As they proceeded, a thick night mist began to settle over the dense woods and swampland, creating an unnatural atmosphere. The Electra pressed on down Highway 90, the mist swirling around them. About 10 miles further, they entered the marshland, where the road twisted and turned through the dark, still night. The mist grew denser, and visibility became increasingly challenging. The serene, moonlit drive along the beach had transformed into a treacherous journey through the heart of the Louisiana swampland. At this moment, the stage was set for a tragic conclusion. Unaware of the danger ahead, they went deeper into the mist, each mile bringing them closer to the fateful moment that would change their lives forever. As they sped through the misty night, the speedometer of their Buick Electra was later estimated at 80 miles per hour. They approached Dead Man's Curve, a notorious bend among the marshlands and fishing camps that lay hidden in the nighttime mist of the Rigolettes area. At approximately 2:25 a.m., a tractor-trailer truck traveling west on US 90 between Slidell and New Orleans began to slow down, reducing its speed from 50 to 35 miles per hour. The truck driver had spotted the flashing red lights of a mosquito fogging truck approaching US 90 from the left side of the road at the curve. The nighttime mist captured the insect fog, spreading it far and wide while holding it suspended above the ground, creating a ghostly yet dangerous haze, like light refracted through a glass prism. With the driver's visibility severely obscured, the Buick carrying Mansfield and her companions sped through the mist and the dense fog generated by the insect spray. The combination of high speed and poor visibility proved fatal as the car crashed beneath the rear end of the slowed tractor-trailer. The impact was tremendous. The car went under the 18-wheeled trailer, shearing off its top like a can of sardines, and prompting later rumors that they had been riding in a convertible. All the three persons seated at the front, including Mansfield, were killed instantly. The crash occurred about 23 miles from downtown New Orleans, cutting short the life of the Hollywood icon and leaving a lasting legacy marked by tragedy. She was 34 at that time. Harrison, the driver, and Brody, seated in the middle, were physically intact but literally crushed from the front by the dashboard. As for Mansfield, she was tossed out of the Buick by the impact and landed on the shoulder of the road. She had been wearing a blonde wig. It came off of her head when she was thrown through the windshield of the passenger side of the Buick by the impact. Some people, including journalists on the scene, saw the wig hanging on the corner post of the shattered windshield and assumed it was Mansfield's natural hair and that she had been decapitated. But she wasn't, although there was obvious physical trauma on her head and body. She lay twisted and broken on the side of the road. What a twisted look of horror on her face, frozen in the terror of her fate. In the aftermath of the tragic accident, numerous rumors and myths began to circulate. One of the most persistent and gruesome was the claim that Mansfield had been decapitated in the crash. However, this detail was later debunked by Dr. Nicholas J. Chetta, the Orleans parish coroner who performed the autopsy on Mansfield. Dr. Chetta, a respected figure in his field, passed away around 2004, but his recollections of the crash were preserved in his obituary in the New Orleans Times-Picayune. In his statements, Dr. Chetta definitively clarified that Jayne Mansfield's head was not decapitated. According to his detailed autopsy report, her head remained intact on her neck. However, the impact had caused severe trauma, particularly to her upper forehead and hairline. Dr. Chetta described the injuries as extensive, noting that Mansfield had been scalped, losing bone and tissue in the process. The severe trauma to her head, while horrific, was not consistent with decapitation. The truck driver, Richard H. Rambo of Pensacola, Florida, felt the impact and immediately stopped to see what had collided with his vehicle. He was horrified by the sight of the crushed Buick Electra and feared it might catch fire. Acting quickly, Rambo pulled Jayne Mansfield's body from the wreckage, attempting to prevent further tragedy. Miraculously, the three children, Mickey Jr., Zoltan, and Mariska Hargitay, survived the crash although injured. Alongside them, two Chihuahuas also emerged alive from the crushed car. Fellow travelers on US 90 soon arrived at the scene, joining Rambo in the rescue efforts. Together they worked to carefully remove the children from the wreckage. It was believed that the children survived because they had been slumped over, sleeping in the back seat, where the roof had remained largely intact, unlike the front of the car, which had been sheared off and caved in. Amid the chaos, young Zoltan called out for his sister, Mariska, fearing she was missing. Responding to his cries, the rescuers returned to the wreckage and discovered Mariska lodged beneath a seat, alive but injured. Later that day in New Orleans, Mickey Hargitay faced the media in the Ochsner Foundation Hospital library, his heart heavy with grief. Reporters gathered around as he spoke about the devastating loss of Mansfield. Hargitay recounted the heartbreaking moment when little Mickey, their son, asked what had happened to his mother. With gentle words, Hargitay told him, "She had a date with God and will be with him from now on." Amidst the family's sorrow, discussions about Jayne Mansfield's funeral began. Her third husband, Matt Cimber, believed she would have wanted a grand Hollywood funeral, a final farewell befitting a star of her stature. However, Hargitay and Mansfield's mother had different wishes. They felt a more personal and private ceremony would honor her memory better. A legal and emotional struggle ensued over the custody of her body, but ultimately Hargitay and Mansfield's mother prevailed. They arranged for her burial in Pennsylvania, near her birthplace of Bryn Mawr. The funeral was held at a church in Pen Argyll, a town with a name reflecting its Welsh heritage, much like Bryn Mawr. Hargitay was the only one of her three husbands who showed up at the funeral, a testament to the enduring bond they shared. Hargitay recalled how Mansfield took him to a cemetery where her father was interred 2 weeks after he met her. There, she told him that she was not going to live long. She went on to say to him she also wanted to be buried there when she passed on. This revelation sparked gossip that the star was reportedly the victim of a curse placed by Church of Satan founder Anton LaVey. She had met LaVey, whose real name was Howard Levy, during a drug-fueled trip to San Francisco. Previously, Mansfield's marital woes, jealous suitors, and inability to star in Hollywood movies had led her to rely heavily on alcohol to get her through her distress. She also resorted to accepting work at venues unsuitable for someone of her former stature as a Hollywood icon. So, going further, Mansfield and LaVey became lovers. Brody, her boyfriend, became so displeased after learning of their relationship that he challenged LaVey. In response, LaVey allegedly placed a curse on him, saying he would die in a car crash. Brody and Mansfield would survive no less than 6 car accidents before the crash that killed them on the fateful night of June 28, 1967. In fact, it was reported that LaVey conducted a satanic memorial service for Mansfield at his black house in San Francisco. Hargitay and Mansfield's mother, Vera Pierce, didn't get the private farewell they wanted. On July 3rd in Pen Argyll, nearly 1,000 people gathered before the Pullis funeral home. A few miles away, 1,000 spectators created a carnival scene at Fairview Cemetery. Adults and children were seen in bathing suits and shorts, sitting on curbstones and porches. Many even went to the cemetery hours before the 2 p.m. service for a picnic lunch. When the 16-car funeral procession arrived, people broke through police lines, sprinting over graves to photograph the casket. Hargitay lamented how people never allowed them to mourn in peace. Jane Marie, 16, was the only one of the actress's children to attend. At the gravesite, she and Hargitay each plucked a rose from the blanket of pink roses on the coffin. Hargitay dropped a note and a piece of jewelry into the grave. Tears filled their eyes as they walked to their limousine. Mansfield's mother sat by the gravesite a moment more, grasping her purse and twisting her handkerchief. The funeral for Mansfield, though a somber affair, was adorned with dozens of floral wreaths from friends and admirers. Among them was a tribute from Bob Hope, a comedian with whom Mansfield had frequently shared the stage during his USO tours and television specials. Bob Hope, who deeply respected Mansfield, often compared her to Marilyn Monroe. He believed their widespread popularity stemmed from their sympathetic and relatable personalities, which endeared them to audiences worldwide. The night before Mansfield left for Biloxi, Mae Mann visited her at the Pink Palace, the actress's home on Sunset Boulevard. Mann recalled how Mansfield told her to love everyone, including those who had hurt her in one way or another. The newsreel recording Mansfield's death showed an earlier occasion when the busty, pink-loving actress met a young Queen Elizabeth II at a film premiere. Mansfield, whose hourglass figure and looks were often compared to Marilyn Monroe, began her acting career after winning several beauty pageants, including Gas Station Queen, Miss Lobster, and Miss Fire Prevention Week. At that time, she was doing a theater studies degree at the University of California in Los Angeles. Her life and career changed dramatically when she posed nude for the newly established publication Playboy in February 1955. The following year, she signed with 20th Century Fox. Yet posing nude also ruined her marriage to her first husband, PR Paul Mansfield, who cited the pictures to gain custody of their daughter, Jayne Marie Mansfield. Despite her personal turmoil, she landed her first film role as a supporting member of the cast in Female Jungle, filmed in 10 days while still a student. Within 2 years, she starred in the hit Broadway musical Will Success Spoil Rock Hunter, winning a Theatre World Award for her performance. In the film version, she later played the lead role of Rita Marlowe, a spoof of Monroe. Her success on Broadway allowed her to showcase her comedic talents by starring in 1956's The Girl Can't Help It, which won her a Golden Globe Award for Best Newcomer. At the heart of her appeal were her playful sexuality and her blonde bombshell looks. She also generated massive publicity from her frequent wardrobe malfunctions. On one occasion, her dress slipped twice in one evening, and salacious private life. Despite her cultivated image as the stereotypical dumb blonde, Mansfield was an intelligent woman who spoke 5 languages and reportedly lusted for knowledge. Also, aside from her 3 husbands, she allegedly bedded both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Bobby and had several affairs. Her seemingly impossible figure, measured as 40D2136 in 1953, was also the subject of frequent conversations in America. TV evangelist Billy Graham once exclaimed, "This country knows more about Jayne Mansfield's statistics than the Second Commandment." But by the early 1960s, her career had begun to fizzle out. At that time, the demand for big-breasted actresses had fallen. Therefore, Mansfield, whose bust was measured at 46 DD shortly before her death, struggled to get film roles. However, later in her career, she returned to the stage with an acclaimed turn in Bus Stop and developed into a successful Vegas headliner and nightclub performer. Her act combined song, comedy, and impromptu banter with the audience. Her posthumously released last fictional movie, Single Room Unfurnished, was directed by Clymer, with whom she had a son, Antonio, before divorcing in 1966. Hargitay later produced a 1968 documentary about her life called The Wild Wild World of Jayne Mansfield. That's not all after her death. After Mansfield's death, the truck industry in the United States witnessed some transformations. Trailers were required to have a solid bar beneath them to prevent cars from sliding underneath during impact. Although a federal requirement for rear guards existed, the rule was loosely enforced. There were also no standards for strength or effectiveness. However, following the establishment of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA, in 1970, the agency recommended the installation of rear underride guards, or, as they later became known in the United States, Mansfield bars, on large trucks. Today, Mansfield is remembered more for her death than for her life. And that's a wrap, guys. Don't forget to hit that like button and ring the notification bell so you will be among the first to know when we publish next. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.